Hi, and welcome back to ENTP Life. Today, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the psychology of investing in real estate or investing in general. I went to a seminar recently, and one thing that I always notice about seminars, meetups, or whenever there's a gathering of people who are coming to learn about real estate investing and they're on a junior level, they tend to get hung up on a lot of these details that don't really matter when it comes to investing. And what I think it's all about, it's the psychology of actually putting your money to work and taking on the risk. A lot of people aren't built for it, but they have this ambition that they want to do it. So they get into this like zone where they're interested, really interested, learning everything, but go home and kind of stay in that circle of, analysis paralysis. Now, I never really had that issue because for me, when I think about doing something and it elicits fear, I almost think that I'm chickening out. And once I have that in my mind, I'm kind of adverse to being considered like a chicken or scared of things. So I just go forward. And what's funny is I spoke to one of my friends about this one day, and he said that his wife views him as being a fearless character. And if you guys are into aviation or anything like that, he has a channel here on YouTube that's really informative, talks a lot about different airplanes. His name is Mike, and his channel's name is Mojo Grip. But we were talking about the fear of flying and the fear of initiating in business. And that's when he made the comment that his wife thinks that he is fearless. And he made a really good point. He was like, you know what? I'm not fearless. I'm scared all the time. Whenever I fly, I'm scared. Whenever I'm taking on a new business opportunity, I'm scared. But I just move forward anyway. Right? And I was like, you know what? That's actually true because, I've been told, oh, you're fearless in business or you're fearless in life. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. Like, I'm flying and sometimes my heart is pounding because there's turbulence. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen today? Is today going to be the day that I crash, etc.? So the only difference is that I just move forward. And I think that mindset is really needed when you're going to be investing in real estate, because you could find a million reasons to talk yourself out of a deal that isn't even relevant to the deal itself. I've seen people talk themselves out of a deal because they don't like a neighborhood. The numbers are phenomenal, but they don't like the neighborhood because they don't see themselves living there. And this is a neighborhood that's not boarded up. This is not a ghost town. This is a fully functional, safe, maybe not so attractive, but really safe neighborhood. And they're like, no, this isn't it. And then when it comes to the next deal, they find another reason not to invest in that. Oh, the house is too old. I'm not sure that this house will be the house. And it's like, if you're looking for the perfect house, the only way that you're going to be able to come up with perfection is if you have a very clear outline as to what perfect is, right? Things that you could measure, things that you could quantify, so that your analysis of the deal is purely objective and eliminates its subjective nature, okay? Now, if you're going to be investing, there's going to be a lot of people who say this is not good or that is good, or you must do X, Y, and Z. You must follow the 70% rule. You must follow the 2% rule when you're renting. They're going to tell you all kinds of things. And what I say to that is all of them are going to have really good information for you. They're trying to tell you what they think is best, but what they're doing is telling you what they think is best for them. What you have to decide is what is best for you. And let me give you an example of that. So one of the people that I'm advising, he's buying a house in upstate New York. And this is a 3-family home that will cash flow a little over $1,000 a month. And the purchase price is $115,000, which, when you look at the numbers of it, that's really good because he's going to be collecting like $2,400 in rent, and after expenses, he should be netting about $1,000 a month on a $115,000 purchase. That's a really good rate of return, in my opinion. However, I didn't like the deal because the house is already performing. It's in mediocre shape. There's tenants in place, but there's no room to really buy the house, renovate it, and refinance it so that he's able to recapitalize himself for the next deal. When he purchases this property, he's going to be putting down 30%, trapping, a little over $30,000, and then cash flowing over time. And that's not my strategy. My strategy is to buy the property damn near dead, renovate it so that it's at 70% of the value, where I can refinance it at 75%. That way I'm able to cash out my initial investment, and that little 5% is going to go towards some of the closing fees associated with that refinance. That is my ideal situation. So for him, he's looking at it as like, okay, this is going to cash flow. I'm going to generate a little bit of money off of this. But for me, I'm like, no, that I'm going to get money trapped, and that doesn't fit my overall strategy, and that doesn't make me feel good. Okay. So as you can see, that investment was a good deal, but two different people have two different outlooks on how to approach that. You have to figure out what it is that excites you, what it is that makes you comfortable, and what is going to be most consistent and favorable for you. Okay? It doesn't matter who you listen to. It doesn't matter what you learn. You need to know what's going to work for you. And that goes into really understanding your personal investment strategy and your personal investment psychology. Okay? Now, I don't know how to put this into like real psychological terms because I'm not an expert in psychology, but you need to really be self-aware and know who you are and where you stand. Okay. Now, if you're someone who is afraid of parting from money, like you're a lifetime saver, and anytime that you spend down from your savings, it makes you anxious and uneasy, you may have a bit of a problem, because when it comes to real estate, you're gonna have to typically lay out some money, right? So if you're somebody who's the saving type and you're afraid of parting from money, in my opinion, what you need to do is either find real estate scenarios or investment scenarios that allow you to put down zero money. So your money is never at risk, and you never have this anxiety of, oh my God, my money, oh my God, my money. You might have to raise the money from other people, right? Cut them into the deal, have them put up the earnest money, the deposit money, and then you go ahead and you make the decision, and you eliminate that emotion of, oh my God, my money, I might lose my money, because in reality, you might be losing somebody else's money, okay? So if you're really hung up on, oh my God, I don't want to lose my money, that might be the avenue for you, because you need to do whatever it is to calm that fear factor in your mind that's telling you, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, even though the deal is really good, right? So if that's your scenario, you're afraid to part with money, that's one way of resolving it. Another thing is if you don't want to use other people's money, like your friends and family, because now you're afraid that you might be wrong, and if you lose their money, it's like, wow, man, I really, lost the money of people that I care about, and I was too chicken to use my own money, and then you might put yourself into like this guilt spiral. That might be a big problem. But you may have comfort using borrowed money from the bank, right? So if you can find a deal that you can get fully financed by a bank, and what I mean by that is fully financed by a bank may not exist in the typical terms of making a typical acquisition, but you may be able to refinance your own property if you have equity in a property that you own already, where, if you're making an investment of $100,000, that should be like a $500 to $600 a month payment in your line of credit. And that same 100,000, if we use example number one with the gentleman who's buying the 3-family home, if you spent $100,000 to buy that same type of house, it's costing you $600 a month on your, primary line of credit, but you're going to be making a spread of $1,800. Now you're not using your saved money, you're using your house's money, and the numbers make sense because this is a 3-family home, each unit renting for $800. One unit covers your debt. The other unit covers, your taxes and maybe incidentals. Third unit, all gravy for your pocket. So even if you have one tenant not paying, maybe 2 tenants not paying, you're still not going to put yourself fully at risk of losing it all. And now you have your deal, and now it's in a more manageable format. Okay. So you have to know what you're going to be able to tolerate. And once you're able to put that down on paper, like, hey, you know what? This is what's really scaring me, right? You don't even have to tell people, because that's like another big thing. It's like that public disclosure. But really sit down with yourself and say, why am I not pulling the trigger on any of these deals? Is it fear of money, not enough money? Is there something kind of under the surface that I'm not really talking about? I'm not confident in my decision-making skills. My math skills suck. Whatever it is, whatever that fear factor is for you, write them down or write it down, whatever it's going to be. And then you're going to be able to maybe find like the supplement for that. So if your fear is spending your hard-earned money, then a solution is financing with other people's money, financing with bank money. And I don't know, I'm not sure what other solutions there are for that, but you might be able to draft 2 or 3 reasons or 2 or 3 solutions for helping you deal with that fear. And you should do that for all of the fears that you have. Come up with something concrete, tangible that you could do to solve that fear that's preventing you from making that initial investment. Now, let me think of another fear that I see that people have. The fear of bad tenants, right? Oh my God, getting horrible tenants. That's something that you can almost control, like entirely, like 99.9%, you can eliminate the risk of a crappy tenant. You're able to meet your tenants. You're able to run background checks on them. They can give you references. You could call their friends and family, and you can get a sense, is this person the type of person that's going to pay their rent? Look at their credit history. Do they always pay their bills on time? Why are they moving from their previous home into yours? Was it a sales situation? Was it a location they needed to move into a new town because they changed their jobs? Whatever it is, you can screen to the very T and find all the parameters that in your imagination equals a good tenant. Typically, it's their behavior. Are they responsible? Do they return phone calls? Do they answer their calls? Are they prompt to answer their calls? Do they have good questions for you? Do they care about the way the neighborhood looks? Are they going to ask you, what about grass maintenance? What about garbage maintenance? What are we doing about these things? These things that matter to the public, these things that matter to municipalities. If they're already ahead of you and asking these questions of like, how are we going to make sure that we're going to maintain a really nice property, then you already know that they care about things looking good. Do they make 40 to 50 times the monthly rent in their annual income? That's a safe number. Look at how much debt they accumulate, right? When you look at their credit report, look at their car payments, right? How high is their car payment in relation to the rent? Are they paying you $1,000 in rent, but they have a $700 car payment? Things like that for me are kind of red flags. It's like, what does this person really values? A car is just something that's going to move you from point A to point B. You're paying almost as much for a car as you are for your shelter. Something like that will make me say this person's priorities are a little screwed up. When it comes down to losing their apartment or losing their car, they're most likely gonna, shaft me as a landlord because that car is so important to them. And they need it to get to work. Me as a landlord here in New York, they cannot pay me for months and still have a place to live, which is ridiculous. But that may be what's in their mind. If any kind of flag like that, if I'm looking to reduce the risk of a defaulting tenant, then I flag it and I'll look for somebody who doesn't have, all of these red flags. But that's something that you could eliminate if the fear is, what about poor tenants? Now, another thing you can do if you have the fear of poor tenants is talk to other landlords. Really talk to them. Maybe 1 out of 20 tenants, 30 tenants are crappy, and maybe got through your filtering system because they had a guarantor for the loan that was really good, or they were just a smooth talker and, for whatever reason you broke from your objective checklist of requirements, and then you got yourself a bad apple. But talk to landlords and find out what is their experience with tenants. How are the tenants? Are they paying? How many times do you have to evict? If you had to look at how many tenants you had to evict versus how many are really good, what would you say the ratio is? What would you consider a bad tenant? Usually bad tenants are the ones that are constantly getting the cops called on them and not paying you your rent. But for the most part, you'll find that a lot of landlords, a lot of building managers will tell you most tenants are good. Most people pay their bills on time, especially their housing bills. You're going to have the people who are like, late, a few days or whatever the case may be. They'll even pay the late fee. They're just chronically late. I'm actually like that. I don't pay things on time just because, and it's absurd the amount of money that I spend in late fees. I never let myself go into like a default situation, but I'll just forget or just, I'll pay it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and I forget to pay it, and then I have a late fee. So I'm not someone who doesn't pay his bills. I'm just someone who's chronically late with my bill payment. And, if I had a landlord, they might be annoyed with me that Carl's always paying his rent on the 10th of the month rather than the 5th or rather than the 1st. But he pays every month and he's been here for 6 years. So, that's just who he is. So you're going to want to kind of talk to landlords and get a sense of what is their typical experience. And that might really show you that being a landlord isn't that bad. Okay. You have other people who are very fearful of being wrong, picking the wrong investment, right? And once again, one of the best ways to eliminate the fear in an investment scenario is really good analysis, right? If you have your parameters set in stone that I buy properties at no more than 60% of the after repair value when I'm acquiring an REO, and I will not spend more than 20% of the after repair value in renovations, right? That leaves me at a total investment cost of 80% to the ARV, right? I do not buy properties over $300,000 ARV. I do not buy properties that are over 3 family, because at 4 families, I get taxed the commercial rate in New York. The values aren't quite determined by the performance of the asset. It's more or less, on comparable sales. And there's not really that many 4 families out there. That's another story and another funny place. But that might be your criteria. And if you can calculate and say, this deal meets all of my criteria, right? And, it's on paper, it's objective, it's a good deal, you should be able to use that over your feelings, right? You're going to need to, if your feelings are unreliable and they're selling you these fear signals and not to do it, and it's something that you mentally really want to do, then mentally you're going to need to come up with something that eliminates your emotion and keeps it objective, right? You're going to need to come up with that checklist of this is what a good deal looks like, or a spreadsheet of this is what a good deal looks like. And anytime it looks like this, I'm going to take the deal, and if anything goes wrong, it was something wrong with the deal, not necessarily something wrong with your analysis, or maybe something that you missed that now becomes part of your future analysis, okay? But if it's good on paper and somehow it fails because the contractor ripped you off, or when you opened up the walls, there was significant termite damage that blew your budget out of the water, those type of things happen, but you still know that had that stupid thing not happened, this would have been it. And still your objective analysis is not wrong. Trust that more than those feelings. So I hope this video on the psychology of investing in real estate is going to be helpful for you. Like I said, this is something that I see troubling a lot of new to the industry investors. And I think by being objective, by being honest with yourself, and being able to look at a deal from a perspective of neutral thinking, that you would be able to get past those fear hurdles. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and please share this video with anybody that you know is interested in investing in real estate. I always tell you guys, there's more people than you think that are interested in investing in real estate. And if you're short on money, or you need a partner, or you need somebody to just kind of be there for you to help you deal with those psychological components, you might find them by just sharing this on your Facebook. And I'm not saying this just to promote my channel, But believe me, once you start talking about real estate, once you start talking about your interests, other people take notice, and the people that you may want to work with are right there in your social network or in your group of friends, and it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. So if you do know people, share this, make sure that they see it, make sure that they understand what it is that you're trying to do in your real estate career, and believe me, it's going to work out in your favor. Thank you for joining me at ENTP Life. I hope this has been helpful. Take care.